Okay. Ezra Hashem. Today's daf is Masechta Baba Metzia, daf Pei Beis 82. We're just gonna say a word or two about the Mishnah, which is on. Hold on. Hi, Alan. We just began.
Hi. Okay.
We just began. The Daf Yomi today is Daf Pei Beis 82. But we're going to start from just to review the Mishnah, the Mishnah on Daf Pei Amid Beis. The Mishnah says if someone lends money, hilvohu, we have it green over here, hilvohu al mashkin. If you lend money to somebody and you're watching a mashkin, let's say you lent money, you lent them $10,000, and now you're guarding his motorcycle. That's the collateral for your loan. What happens? What kind of a shomer are you to that collateral, to that mashkin? So the Mishnah says, the Tanakama says, shomer sachar, you're a paid watchman, and therefore, geneva avaveda yechayev. If it's stolen, you're held liable. Now, in what way are you getting paid? That's a question. In order to be called a shomer sachar, you have to be getting paid somehow. You're getting some sort of remuneration, some sort of benefit. So we're going to discuss that in the Gemara, but it could be the Rashi right away says you get the schar of the mitzvah. Because the fact that you had the opportunity to loan somebody money, so you were paid with the opportunity to get a mitzvah, and therefore now that you're a paid watchman on the mashkin, and therefore you're a shomer sachar. You're a shomer sachar and yechayev and geneva and aveda. Rabbi Yehuda says it depends what you loan. He says the schar of the mitzvah is not what are you getting paid. Hilvo mos, if you lend somebody money, shomer chinam, you are considered to be a unpaid watchman, and therefore you're not held liable if you lend $10,000 and you're watching, and now you have collateral his motorcycle. You're just an unpaid watchman, and you're not chayev on geneva veda. But hilva'u peiros, but if you lend him fruits, shomer sachar, you are a paid watchman. Now, why should be fruits any different? The answer is because when you lend somebody fruits, you benefit besides doing a mitzvah. You benefit because now you get rid of your fruits. Because if it stayed by you, perhaps you wouldn't have consumed the fruits, and it would have rotted anyway. So now that you lend somebody else the fruits, and he's going to pay you back maybe money, or he's going to pay you back fruits when you need it. So that's a benefit to you. Therefore, if you're watching a mashkin, based on the loan of fruits, you're considered a shomer sachar. You got paid. Now, Abba Shaul says something else, interesting mitzvah. It's a nice mitzvah to do. A guy, you lent a poor person money, and he gave you something to watch. So you don't want to, maybe the poor person will not have enough money to pay you back, but you have a mashkin, a collateral of his. So Abba Shaul says, Rashoy odom lahaskim ashkoini shel oni, you're allowed to rent out, without even asking the poor person, the mashkin of the poor person. Anytime you rent it out, you're now going to deduct the profit that you made from renting out the mashkin, deduct from what he owes you. You don't have to ask the ani if you can do that, because you're doing him a big favor. It's like returning a lost item to him. Because now, when you're going to rent it out a number of times, you're going to put it on Craigslist and rent it out and keep renting it. So then, eventually, the ani who borrowed the money is not going to have to pay you back because you made so much money on his mashkin. And that's a nice thing to do. Abba Shaul says it. Now let's go to Pei Beis and Aleph. Pei Beis. But we're going to start from Pei Aleph Amid Beis. So, Pei Aleph Amid Beis, about 7 lines from the bottom. So now everything will go smooth. Hilvo al mashkin shomer sachar. If you lend somebody in a mashkin, you're a shomer sachar. So first the Gemara says, let us say our mission is not like Rabbi Eliezer. The time we learned to the Brisa, if you lend somebody, your friend, and you're watching his collateral, if it was stolen or lost, you swear that it was stolen, and you don't have to pay him back his mashkim. You can still collect on the loan. Rabbi Eliezer. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. So the Tanakama cannot be Rabbi Eliezer, because Rabbi Eliezer clearly says that if you lose the mashkin or it's stolen, you don't have to pay back. You can still collect fully on the loan. So Rabbi Eliezer holds that you're a shomer chinam if you're watching a mashkin. So our Tana is not Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Kiva says, he'll be tani el al mashkin. Didn't I lend you the whole point The loiva will say, the whole point of you loaning me money is because I gave you a collateral. Ovid mashkin, if you lost my mashkin, ovid my oischa, you lost some of the money that I owe you. Okay, that's Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva holds you responsible. So Rabbi Akiva holds your shaymesacha. Hilvo el zuz b'shtar, even if you lent somebody and it was in a shtar form, v'heniach loy mashkin aleim, and then besides writing it down in a document, in a deed, you also have a mashkin, divrei hakol, even Rabbi Lezer would agree, of a mashkin, of a ma'osav, if you lose the mashkin, you lose the money. Because Rabbi Lezer holds when you're guarding a mashkin, why do you have a mashkin in the first place? Why do you have collateral? The answer, according to Rabbi Lezer, is that it's only to remind the borrower that you loaned him something, and so that reminds him. He denies that you ever loaned him something. You'll pull out a mashkin. Hey, remember you gave me this as a mashkin. Rabbi Akiva says no. Rabbi Akiva says one step further. The point of a mashkin is that in case the guy just doesn't want to pay you back, you have a mashkin. You can foreclose on the mashkin. So it's a place to start collecting back. So if there's a star in place, there's the only reason why you're going to be holding a mashkin is in case he doesn't pay you back the elef zuz that he owes you, then you're going to start, foreclosing on his mashkin. In that case, everybody, both Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Akiva, agree that a mashkin in that case is like a shomer sachan, and ovid mashkin, ovid ma'osav. When you lose the mashkin, if you lost the mashkin, then you have to deduct from the loan that's owed, because the mashkin is almost like it belongs to you already. You have a right to foreclose on that, so you're like a paid watchman on that. So, but the bottom line is, from already in the beginning of the brisa says that according to Rabbi Eliezer, a plain mashkin is like a shomer chinam, and if you lose it, you don't have to worry about it. You can still collect on the loan. So how do you reconcile our Mishnah Rabbi Eliezer? So the Gemara says, "Afila tema Rabbi Eliezer." You could say our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Eliezer. Like our Mishnah is not difficult. Kan shemishkana b'shas halvasai, and kan mishkana shloi b'shas halvasai. It depends when you got the mashkin. If you get the mashkin at the time of the loan, so then you're shomer chinam. That's when Rabbi Eliezer says it's shomer chinam. Our Mishnah, who calls guarding a mashkin like your shomer sachar, is when you didn't get the mashkin when the loan happened. It came to you. How did you get a mashkin? When you went to court and tried to collect your debt, tried to collect what the person owes you, and the guy says, I can't pay you, here's a mashkin. Oh, in that case, even Rabbi Lezer would agree, now you have a mashkin that you can potentially keep. So in that case, Rabbi Lezer would agree that if you're watching that mashkin, you are considered to be a shomer sachar. So our Mishnah can square off even with Rabbi Lezer. Says the Gemara, how can you say that our brisa and the Mishnah is talking about two different cases? That our Mishnah is talking about Shmashkin Shloi B'Shasal Vas. And the Bryce is talking about Shmishkanai B'Shasal Vasai. Well, Idi v'Idi, we go to Pei Beis and Aleph, Hilval Amashkin Ketani. They both seem to say that you both using the same words, that you lent money on a mashkin. So it doesn't matter whether you got the mashkin at the time of the loan or you got the mashkin later on. So there must be the Bryce and the Mishnah are both talking about the same case. Says the Gemara Eloloi Kash. I have another way to reconcile our Mishnah with Rabbi Lezer. When did Rabbi Lezer say a mashkin is a shomer chinam? Kan shehilvo mois. If you loaned money, then you're a shomer chinam on the mashkin. But kan shehilvo peris. But if you loaned fruits, our Mishnah says you're a shomer sachar. So when did our Mishnah say you're a shomer sachar? Is only if you loan fruits. And as I explained before, what should be the difference? Because when you loan fruits, you're really benefiting from that loan. Why? Because if you kept the fruits by you, it might have rotted. So now that you had the opportunity to loan somebody fruits, so you're basically getting an extra benefit. That extra benefit makes you like a paid watchman. If he happens to give you a collateral, you're now a paid watchman. So that's how you square off how Rabbi Lezer could agree with our Mishnah, because our Mishnah is talking about you loaned fruits. Says the Gemara, if that's the differentiation of our Mishnah, at the end of our Mishnah, it says, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Hilvo Mois Shemechinam, Hilvo Perish Shemesacha. Rabbi Yehuda makes that distinction between lending money, you're a shemechinam, lending fruits, you're a shemesacha. Michlal, from here we can derive the Tanakama Loishonala. According to the Tanakama, there is no difference. So how can you square off our Mishnah with Rabbi Eliezer? Rabbi Eliezer says that you're a shemechinam. Our Mishnah seems to say that in all cases you're a shemer. And says the Gemara, maybe it's not so. Kula Rabbi Yehuda. Maybe our whole Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. There's something missing in our Mishnah. Mishnah says you're a mashkin. If you're watching a mashkin, you're a shemer sachab. You have to put these words into the Mishnah. When did we qualify that you're a shemer sachab? Shilvo peres. If you lend fruits. And that's where you're a paid watchman. But if you lend somebody just money, shomer chinam, you're going to only be a shomer chinam on the mashkin. Because who said this? Rabbi Yehuda, hilvo mois shomer chinam, hilvo peres shomer sachab. So Rabbi Yehuda is the total author of the Mishnah, and our Mishnah can't square off with Rabbi Eliezer. That's what the Gemara came all this direction to try to say our Mishnah is like Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva holds you're always going to be a shomer sachab, but Rabbi Eliezer says sometimes if you're watching a mashkin, you're a shomer chinam, and our Mishnah can be like Rabbi Eliezer. So the Gemara says it doesn't. We don't like that. Then you're establishing our Mishnah not like Rabbi Akiva. And you're saying our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Eliezer. Well, I don't like that because most Mishnayos go according to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva lost his 24,000 Talmidim. He started again, and all his Talmidim are now the authors of the Brises and the Toseftos and the Mishnayos. So we'd like to say that our Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva. Ela Machvarta, let's go back to the way we started. Masnisid Lorik Rabbi Lezer. Our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Lezer, who said that a Shemechinam, a mashkin, is considered to be a shomer. As a shomer sacha. That's not like Rabbi Lezer, who said if you're watching a mashkin, you're a shemechinam. So now that we established that the machlekes between Rabbi Lezer and Akiva, that one holds you're watching a mashkin, you're a shemechinam, and Rabbi Akiva holds you're a shomer sacha. Let's try to understand why are they arguing. So first the Gemara says, maybe the mashkin was not worth the amount of the loan. Let's say you loan $20,000, and the mashkin is worth like a motorcycle. It's worth $10,000. So what would be the argument? Why would someone hold you're a shemechinam, and why would the Rabbi Akiva hold you're a shomer sacha? Well, they're arguing if you hold what like Shmuel said. Shmuel said, "Hi mind the oisva alfi zuz lechaveri." If someone lent his friend 1,000 zuz, va'anach kata de magola ilavai, and he gave him as a mashkin like a handle of a sickle. Okay, so certainly the loan is much more valuable than the handle of a sickle. Avad kata de magal. If you lose the handle of a sickle, avid alfi zuzin, then the loan is canceled. So you have to watch that mashkin. So you're going to say like this: Rabbi Kiva holds of Shmuel that once you give a mashkin, it's like that's where you're going to collect from, and it means it's the defining point of the entire loan, and therefore Rabbi Kiva holds you a shomer sachar, and Rabbi Lezer doesn't hold of Shmuel, so that Gemara doesn't like it because no one likes Shmuel. If you get a little handle of a sickle as your mashkin, and the loan was $1,000, if you lose that handle of a sickle, you lose the whole loan. Even like nobody would hold like Shmuel if the mashkin wasn't worth the amount of the loan. Everybody doesn't hold of Shmuel. It's a very extreme position to say that the mashkin that's not worth the amount of the loan. If you lose that mashkin, you lost the entire loan. So what is the machlekes between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Lezer? They're arguing if the mashkin is equal to the loan, and they're arguing what Rabbi Yitzchak defined the posik. The Rabbi Yitzchak said, how do I know a Baal Chayv owns the mashkin? He doesn't just have it to watch, but he actually owns it. Because the Torah tells you that, let's say the mashkin is a pair of pajamas. So the Torah tells you that at night, give it back to the borrower, because he needs the pajamas to wear at night. And then in the morning, he's going to return it to you. And the Torah tells you, Ulucha tia tzedakah. If you do such a thing, Hashem considers it as if you did charity with the borrower. Now, If it's not yours, if you didn't buy the mashkin, if you don't own the mashkin, tzedakah manali, what kind is it tzedakah? You're giving back his own pajamas. It's his pajamas, the borrower's pajamas. So we see from here that the Torah considers once you get the mashkin, the Malvalite now owns the mashkin. But the Torah demands that, listen, if he needs it back, you have to gift it to him back. And if you do that, Hashem considers it tzedakah. Mekan, so if we hear Rabbi Yitzchak derived, the Baal Choiv shekana mashkin, Rabbi Baal Choiv owns the mashkin. So Rabbi Kiva holds if you own the mashkin, so that's yours. So if you lose it, you're causing yourself a loss because you're chayiv on everything that happens to that mashkin. And Rabbi Elazar does not hold of Rabbi Yitzchak. And that could be the defining reasons between Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yitzchak. So the Gemara says, "V'tizbara, can that be the machlokes between Rabbi Yitzchak? Can it be the machlokes between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Kiva if you hold of Rabbi Yitzchak? Eimedam Rabbi Yitzchak, when did Rabbi Yitzchak say that you own the mashkin? If you get the mashkin after you tried to collect on the loan, you went to court, and the court demanded that the borrower give you a mashkin. And that's what the pasuk is really talking about. That's when Rabbi Yitzchak said you own the mashkin. But if you get the mashkin at the time of the loan, at the time of the signing of the document, mi Amar, did Rabbi Yitzchak say such a mashkin you own? And Rabbi Kiva nevertheless says even such a mashkin you're like a shomer sachar. So it's more than just holding of Rabbi Yitzchak is the defining reason of Rabbi Akiva. Ella, let's try to say, everybody holds Rabbi Yitzchak. If you get a mashkin, not at the time of the loan, but actually you went to court and demanded to get paid, and the court said to the borrower, if you can't pay, give a mashkin. So then everybody holds that now the borrower owns the mashkin. So it's his mashkin. So ba'hacha, and here's the defining machlokes between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Akiva, and that's where you're going to really understand the Mishnah. Because again, why is it that somebody who lends somebody money, writes the mashkin right away when he signed the document, gets the mashkin, and now he's a shomer sachar on that mashkin? Why? What did he get paid? He did get paid in a sneaky way. Why? The sneaky way is when you're lending somebody money, at that time, you're being busy with a mitzvah. And when you're busy with a mitzvah, if a poor person would start collecting from you, you can say, go away, I don't have to give tzedakah because I'm busy with a mitzvah. I'm busy with a mitzvah. Once you're busy with one mitzvah, the Torah exempts you from another mitzvah. And where do you see that idea? That idea is machlokes between Rab and Rav Yosef. And it's called Pruta de Rav Yosef. We had this before in Baba Kama, but basically what it means, if you find an Aveda, so when you find an Aveda, are you a paid watchman till you return the Aveda, or are you a shomer chinam? So Rav Yosef holds you're a shomer sachar. Why? Because when you picked up and you're busying yourself with that lost item, so then you're a oisik b'mitzvah. And at that point, you don't have to give a penny to tzedakah because you can tell the poor person, bug off because I'm busy with a mitzvah. That's your payment that you didn't have to give tzedakah, and therefore you're a shomer sachar. So that's the point over here. Over here, you wrote the mashkin at the time of the loan. Over shomer aveda kami palgin, they're arguing the same idea of, or just like by a shomer aveda. The Itmar, we learned, shomer aveda, if you're watching a lost item, and if it gets lost or stolen, do you have to pay the owner of the item? Rabba k'shomer chinam. You're like an unpaid watchman. You don't have to take responsibility of theft. If Yosef Amar k'shomer sachar, you're a paid watchman. Why? Because you got paid. How did you get paid? Because you are now exempt from the mitzvah of tzedakah. So Rabbi Kiva holds like Rabbi Yosef, and Rabbi Elazar holds like Rabba, that you're an unpaid watchman when you're lending somebody money. It's the same idea. So the Gemara says like this: Can Rabbi Yosef, who holds by shomer aveda you're a shomer sachar, can he align himself with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar that by a loan you're a shomer chinam? So Lema Rav Yosef Tanoi, would you say Rav Yosef holds is a machlokes Tanoim, and Rav Yosef only aligns himself with Rabbi Akiva and not like with Rabbi Elazar that you're a shomer chinam when you lend somebody money? And says the Gemara, like shomer aveda kuliyama is Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef will tell you when it comes to watching a lost item, everybody holds you're a paid watchman. The hacha over here, we go to Amud Aleph. Why would Rabbi Elazar hold Amud Beis, pay Beis Amud Beis? Why would Rabbi Elazar hold you're an unpaid watchman? Why? It's a very unique case. if the malva needs the mashkin. Let's say the malva likes to ride motorcycles, so he loaned you money in order to use the motorcycle. Obviously, when he uses it, he's going to deduct. He's going to deduct from the loan. So he sort of made this mitzvah of lending you money in order to sneakily use your motorcycle without buying a new one. So did you do a mitzvah by loaning somebody money? Marsava, Rabbi Kiva holds mitzvah ka'aved shilvo. Rabbi Kiva holds, nevertheless, you did a mitzvah, and therefore, by lending out somebody money, that's a mitzvah. So therefore, you are considered a paid watchman. You're considered a paid watchman. Omar Sava, but Rabbi Eliezer holds, lav mitzvah ka'aved. You didn't do a big mitzvah. Because you really had intention because you want to use the mashkin. That's why you made the loan. So it wasn't such a mitzvah. If you didn't do a mitzvah, so then you're not considered an oisik b'mitzvah to pati yourself from tzedakah. In fact, and therefore, according to Rabbi Lezer, you'll be considered a shomer chinam. Now we just go finish up the Mishnah. A beautiful thing Rabbi Shaul said, that if you loaned a poor person money and now he gives you something as a mashkin, it's a nice thing without even asking him, rent out the item that he gave you as a mashkin so that the rental money will deduct from the loan from the amount that he owes you. And that's a nice mitzvah. And you don't have to ask him because l'chayra, you're doing it without his permission. And shoyel shloim das is a glazlans. But here, you're really doing him a big favor by figuring out a way to deduct from the amount of money that he owes you. Amar Avchana bar Ami, Amar Shmuel, halacha ka Abashol, the halacha is like Abashol. Ba'af Abashol loy Amar el b'moro sol v'kardim. Abashol only said, let's say, if he gave you a shovel to watch or a hoe to watch, something like that. So therefore, that's easy to rent out, and there's no wear and tear so much on the item that you rent out. There's a lot of rental income and very little wear and tear, and therefore then that's okay. You don't even have to ask the poor person because you're really doing him a big favor. But if it's an item that when you're going to rent it out, there's going to be a lot of wear and tear, then you shouldn't do it without the poor person's permission. You really have to ask him first because otherwise you're considered a gazlan. Okay, we're just going to start the Mishnah and another few more lines, another 2 minutes, and then we'll stop. The Mishnah discusses somebody does somebody a favor. And you see, the guy needs help carrying barrels. So the Mishnah says, a guy helped somebody carry a barrel from one place to another. So and Reuven helped Shimon to carry a barrel from one place to the other. Ushvara. And he broke. He slipped and broke the barrel, and the wine is all over the place. Bein shemechinam, bein shemesacha, whether he was a shemechinam or an unpaid watchman, yishava, he should swear that what? He should swear that he didn't do it on purpose, he wasn't negligent, he was walking normally, and then he doesn't have to pay. Now, the question is, why doesn't he have to pay? If you're a paid watchman and you were not negligent, you really should have to pay. That's a big question. I'm going to tell you the answer. What the Gemara is going to say later on, maybe tomorrow, is that if you're helping somebody move a barrel from place to place, we took away the risk from you. In other words, normally you would have to pay, but then nobody's going to want to help people anymore because if there's like a 10% chance that you're going to drop the barrel and be obligated to pay, you're not going to want to help him. So the Chachamim said, we exempt you as long as you swear that you didn't do it on purpose and you weren't negligent, with this barrel, you're exempt from any type of tripping involved with this transport of the barrel. Reb Lezer says,
Not his fault, why should he pay? Because he was nice, tried to help him.
That's right, that's the answer. But Lamaisa, a person should not trip. You have to look where you're going. So it's sort of like a peshia, that you're tripping, and so therefore you chayiv to pay. You should be chayiv to pay. Chachamim said you don't have to pay. They want to make it easier for people to help each other. Rabbi Lezer says, Zev Zeh Yishava. I agree the Shemechinam and the Shemesachar should swear that they weren't negligent. But I'm wondering, what are they going to gain if they swear? The Gemara is going to explain what Rabbi Lezer says. He, in other words, in theory, he hears what the Tanakama says, but he doesn't understand what's it going to help how is it going to exempt them if they swear? Let's see what the Gemara says. 2 more lines. Tana Rabbanan. There's 3 opinions over here. We're just going to repeat it. So the author of our Tana, of our Mishnah, is Rab Meir, who says if you help transport a barrel from one place to another, even if you're a paid watchman and you tripped and fell, you swear that you didn't do it on purpose and you're exempt from paying, even if you're a paid watchman. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Unpaid watchman has to swear that it wasn't his fault, and then you're exempt. But if you're a paid watchman and you were carrying the barrels from one place to another place, you should be paying. And then the Gemara says, Rabbi Eliezer says, they both should swear and try to swear, and then they'll be exempt. But I'm wondering, how is it going to work that the Shoy Mechinam and the Shoy Mesach are both going to swear and then exempt themselves from paying? We still don't understand Rabbi Leza. The Gemara is going to discuss Rabbi Meir first, and we'll deal with that tomorrow.
It's a paid watchman that moves the barrel, or they
Yes.
paid him to move the barrel?
Oh, well, maybe he's a paid watchman and he moved the barrel because he was protecting the barrel.
But not because he was asked to move the barrel, because that, to me, would make a big difference.
So my understanding is that he's a paid watchman and he's moving it on his own just to protect
He's
it.
moving it on his own, right? Okay.
Nevertheless, the Gemara is basically the discussion that we're dealing with. What happens when a guy trips? Is it considered that he's a klutz and he's a negligent person, or we accept that as not his fault? People trip, so it's not your fault. And that's
If
going
you don't trust him, you shouldn't let him do it. That's all.
to
He's doing you a favor. He's doing a favor, and you shouldn't have to pay.
That's what the Gemara is going to say. That even if we consider tripping your fault, but we still exempt you from paying if you swear that you just tripped and you didn't do it
It
on
was an accident. It was an accident.
But still, tripping, according to the opinion of Meir, is really your fault. We'll discuss it tomorrow, Bez Hashem.
Okay.